Hey guys, welcome to a new October horror film spotlight video for the month of October. I'm glad you guys can join me. Really appreciate you guys following me with through this entire series of videos. And what I got in store for you today is the film The Descent. This is a British horror film that came out in 2006. It was directed by Neil Marshall, who also directed the film Dog Soldiers. So pretty much knowing that, it could kind of give you a bit of an idea somewhat what to expect about this film, although this one completely just, you don't see a lot of it, kind of coming, because this is something completely new. And just to give you a quick synopsis, well, actually the film stars, I believe it's Shannon McDonald as well as Natalie Mendoza, who play the two primary characters, I believe, of Sarah and Juno. Now, to give you a quick synopsis of the film, it basically stars a group of women that go spree-lunking, and they actually venture down into these set of uncharted caves, and they begin to realize that they're not alone in the caves, and they slowly start figuring out that there's these strange, underground creatures that have survived in these dark conditions, and they start hunting, the girls one by one, killing them all off one by one, until we're left with the surviving characters at the end. And basically it becomes a struggle of survival to try to escape, not only trying to navigate through the caves and tunnels, but trying to survive the creatures themselves, because they're a bloodthirsty bunch of monsters that are trying to hunt them down. So right off the bat, immediately, the one thing that I had to say about this movie is that it is amazing. I love this movie so much because of just how claustrophobic you feel as you watch this movie. There's one scene in particular that it involves a very narrow cave, and that's all I'm going to say. For those of you that have seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that haven't, watch this film and then you'll know what I'm talking about. But in terms of, again, trying to capture the feel and atmosphere of claustrophobia, this movie does it so well. And that one scene that I'm talking about really kind of makes you feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to start having problems breathing already as well. And I can only imagine for the actors in the film having to kind of like go through scenes like that must have been kind of pretty tough too. So, but honestly, I mean, the way it was shot, they just captured this mood of claustrophobia was done so well. And again, the girls trying to figure out what these things are, how to navigate either through or around them or whatnot, just makes it that much more interesting to watch what they do to try to survive. Because basically, they're trying to stick together, but at some points it almost feels like basically it's every woman for herself. And that's the other thing that's unique about this particular film, is that the entire cast is an all-female cast, which is something that you don't really see that much of, especially in horror films. You don't see that, that especially at the time that this movie came out, it was practically unheard of to see an entire, horror film with an entire cast of nothing but women. So this is definitely a first, and it doesn't change anything. It's still a great film. I think it's better to be able to watch an entire female cast for this, because it just kind of changes the dynamics in terms of how the characters are supposed to kind of like mingle with each other, and how they kind of interact, and how they try to go about doing what they do throughout the course of the entire film for survival. So it's really interesting and unique just to see them, because each one of the female characters has their own personality and traits, their own weaknesses and strengths, and just seeing how some of those things kind of like work together to help each other out, but how some of those other elements could kind of backfire and just break the team apart. So there are a lot of other sub themes that are going on in this film, or subplots that are happening in this film as well. And I don't want to give any of that stuff away, because it adds to the overall narrative story of what's happening in the film, and why there are certain kind of conflicts between certain characters, especially two of these characters in the entire film. Primarily the two protagonist characters. So, but overall, man, I mean, this movie is one of the very few that I give so much credit for really creeping me out and making me feel very alone and kind of lost, and feeling this sense of being trapped and wanting to escape so badly. And one of the things that I have to say that this movie does very well is that it creates this very, very dark, ominous feel of dread throughout, the entire film. Like, once they go into this caves and you begin to see slowly what's happening in terms of, you know, not knowing where they are, how they're gonna get out. You begin to really feel this sense of dread because you don't really know now who really is going to, you know, escape from everything that's happening. And for the most part, I mean, since you know, um, a lot of the characters are, you know, dealing with certain things, so you kind of feel like some characters you think are going to make it and others are not, and then in some cases it might be that way, but in other cases it might be entirely different. But overall, it all really comes together so nicely to just give us the kind of scares and thrills and feeling of dread and hope that we kind of want to get in horror films, especially modern horror films. So stuff like, you know, what was done with this movie, it's kind of rare to find, at least for myself. I haven't really seen it elsewhere before, so it's really good, you know, that I found this movie so that I can always go back to it to kind of see something that has all these elements that I like, that I think should be part of horror, you know. And it just kind of just makes you think in terms of, you know, like, wow, that was really a really dramatic and very extreme situation, and this is basically what they did in order to try to survive and things like that. So like I said, it just all comes together so nicely, and I really love this movie. And, you know, I have it on DVD, and this is the actual, you know, the original uncut version, because I know that, you know, when it first was released in the US, you know, it didn't have the original ending. You know, they just kind of cut it off at a certain point, and they didn't show you everything. So this one basically is the full uncut version, so you get the full ending to the entire film. And it really kind of just adds another level to, like, wow, really, that's really what happened, you know, because you really weren't expecting it until you actually see the ending. It's like, wow, you kind of left thinking, whoa, I did not see that coming at all. And you know, I know that there's a sequel called The Descent 2. I haven't actually seen that movie myself. I want to check it out. You know, I've read that it has pretty mixed reviews, and that, you know, it's a mixed cast, right? So it's both male and female characters now for the sequel. And for the most part, I mean, they try to capture some of the essences that were used in the first one, but through some of the reviews that I've read, you know, the critics say that it doesn't really capture it as well as the first one did. And I can imagine that, yeah, it would be pretty tough to try to, you know, recreate some of the same types of elements and feelings of dread like the way the first one did so nicely. But I would like to check out the second one anyway, because, you know, I love the first one, so I would like to see the second one, because from what I understand, the second one is a direct sequel to this one, so I definitely would like to check that out at some point. So, and eventually I might even just end up getting the, you know, the Blu-ray version of The Descent anyway, you know, just to have it, you know, that version in my collection. So, but overall, guys, definitely The Descent is something that you definitely have to watch. You know, if you haven't seen it, definitely you have to check it out, because you're really going to enjoy it, you know, for what it is. I mean, there's so much fun stuff that happens in this film, you know, and performances, you know, by the entire female cast were amazing. You know, I give everyone lots of credit for everything that they went through in order to put this film together. You know, it was really, really great film, really good film. So, The Descent, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Hope you know, you liked the comments that I had to say about this particular film. As always, leave me comments. Tell me what you think. Did you agree or disagree with some of the things that I had to say? Like the video, share it around, guys. Show other people, you know, the videos that I'm creating, so they can see the films that I'm critiquing for this month of October. And I'll catch you next time, guys. All right, so stay safe.